I'm a violent person, but also with concerns about vulnerabilities. But I think part of my task in the university is to say, okay, if you're going to go down this road, how can we stabilise the vulnerabilities rather than to say these vulnerabilities therefore rule out an option? So the way I combat this isn't as an advocate of a particular position, but rather to accept that constitutional independence doesn't avoid the reality of interdependencies. And these interdependencies mean inevitably require that sovereignty is pooled in economics and outside economics. So I think the starting part of my kind of view of this is that constitutional independence does not change the reality of considerable interdependencies, be that Scotland vis-à-vis the UK, be it Scotland vis-à-vis the EU, or indeed be it Scotland vis-à-vis the rest of the world. So that's where I kind of start from, and how we manage these interdependencies that really matters to me. I was asked to say a few words about the EU, so I will do so. Frankly, I wonder where the UK is going in the EU. One of my big concerns just now is that the language coming from London actually could be very much against Scotland's interests if we're heading towards a strategy by the UK government, which I frankly don't understand, but which is championing a Eurosceptic line. I think that would be very damaging to Scotland's economic and indeed political interests over the short to medium and indeed over the long term. So I'm quite concerned about that, and it would be quite an interesting exercise should we get to a position of referendum on the European Union, just how the geographical breakdown in votes takes place inside the current UK. So that's an issue I've got considerable concerns about. So I don't think the future is certain under any constitutional scenario. The idea that the future is certain under retaining the status quo is to me profoundly misguided. We don't know what the comprehensive spending review will do probably next year, and so on. So I think we're facing an uncertain future. Scotland independent on the EU dimension, in my view, and I'm repeating this to kind of blue in the face, Scotland is a member of the EU, and in my view, there's no legal basis to change that relationship. There is a dispute in the legal community between three kind of groups: constitutional lawyers, international lawyers, and EU lawyers. The constitutional lawyers don't know. The international lawyers say you're out. In fact, some international lawyers say everybody's out. Scotland and the rest of the UK is out, and you've both got to apply for membership. Most EU lawyers I know say Scotland would remain inside because there's no legal provision to exclude Scotland, and Scottish citizens have considerable rights under EU law which they cannot be removed. That means we remain within the European Union. Will the opt-outs carry forward precisely to the form they are just now? I think they would, but I agree that's an area for discussion. I do not believe there is any legal basis on which Scotland could be dragooned into the euro. In fact, there isn't. And I can go into that in any amount of detail you want. The issue about financial services is a very important one. Just what the EU's financial services regulation will look like in 2016 is very unclear. We're moving very quickly towards a different constellation on financial services. Almost certainly a banking union of some sort will exist. It has to exist, not just for the Eurozone, but for everybody. Otherwise, multilateral banking will cease to exist. I think the Stirling area is a good idea. I think it's workable. We've got to distinguish what we mean by lender of last resort. So I don't take this view that this is somehow impossible. I think the Bank of England could easily be used as a financial service regulator to provide liquidity support, provided the solvency of banks is taken care of elsewhere, and I think that can be worked out as well, and I've got some ideas about how you could take that forward. So I think on the European side, I don't see a huge amount of vulnerabilities. Arguably the most vulnerable position I think is to remain within the UK as far as the EU is concerned, and I'm quite happy to discuss that in due course, but there's many others.